Throughout the history of music, we've witnessed several clashes between artists and record labels. Most of these have taken the form of an interview or maybe even just a tweet, but some bands and artists have taken this one step further and written full songs to insult their record labels. Sit back and enjoy for 10 great songs you maybe didn't know was an outrageous attack or just a funny insult towards the music industry.
I'm not gonna write you a love song.
Love Song is arguably Sara Bareilles' most famous song. At the time, Bareilles was continuously turning in new music to her record label but kept on getting the red light. Her record label had matched her together with several professional songwriters to co-write a song. However, this had led Bareilles to feel out of touch with herself as a songwriter. The record label kept on pressuring her to make safe, radio-friendly songs. Then she wrote Love Song by herself, which obviously became her commercial breakthrough. As Bareilles put it, "This song was my little stubborn F.U." In her memoir, she also described it as a beacon to help me find my way back to my own artistry at a time when I had lost sight of what that meant. Ironically, her record label's attempt to partner her up with famous songwriters to get mainstream success hindered her from expressing her true musical abilities. Knowing that someone wrote a song to you titled Death on Two Legs isn't exactly flattering. This is Queen's opening track on their fourth album, A Night at the Opera. Freddie Mercury wrote this song as a hate letter to the band's former manager, Norman Sheffield. The lyrics are harsh with lines such as, "You never had a heart of your own, Killjoy, bad guy." Freddie claimed that he had tried to make the lyrics as coarse as possible and even described it as so vindictive that Brian May felt bad singing it. Although the song makes no direct reference to Norman Sheffield, the former manager sued both the band and the record label for defamation. Ironically, this only led to Sheffield drawing even more attention to the subject.
Don't want no paper gangsta. Oh, oh.
Paper Gangsta can be interpreted as someone who has money but uses it for the wrong reasons. The song is about her 6-month record deal with Island Def Jam in 2006 to 2007. As most artists in the early stage experience, record labels doesn't necessarily devote full energy to you, which is what happened to Lady Gaga. She felt it was only one side putting in the work, namely herself. At some point into the partnership, the record label wanted Gaga to use auto-tune. This was becoming a huge deal in the industry. However, Gaga refused, which led to the dissolution of the deal. Lady Gaga then went on to write Paper Gangsta as a diss track towards Island Def Jam. What is especially funny about this song is that Lady Gaga went on to use heavy auto-tune as an extra insult to her former record label. In fact, Lady Gaga uses very little auto-tune in general, as she has no problem with her pitches. She almost only uses it for artistic effects, which I highly respect. EMI, a rebellious punk anthem by the Sex Pistols, serves as a scathing critique and mockery of their record label EMI. Infused with raw energy and biting lyrics, the song encapsulates the band's disdain for the corporate music industry and their rebellious spirit. The lyrics take aim at EMI, mocking the label for wanting to make money from the rising punk trend by signing the band. However, the label quickly dropped the band when their controversial actions harmed the label's reputation. But could we really blame EMI here? The Clash hosted the live television show Today program as fellow EMI band Queen had dropped out last minute. During the show, the band's guitarist Steve Jones insulted the host Bill Grundy several times, leading to huge news headlines around the country. This incident led the record label to terminate the partnership, which led the band to write the song EMI. The Paste magazine described the song as the group's middle finger salute aimed at the record industry and labeled that fired them out of fear of their lyric content. Pink's Don't Let Me Get Me is a song about hating yourself and having very low self-esteem. But in the song, she blames her record label for her low self-esteem. LA told me, "You'll be a pop star. All you have to change is everything you are." Pink was tired of being compared to Britney Spears and was told on several occasions that she wasn't as pretty as her colleague. Of course, this doesn't exactly boost your confidence. However, the song reached number 1 on the Billboard Mainstream Top 40, suggesting that several people connected with the song. The Clash is a band that is highly respected in the punk rock scene, and this is especially thanks to Complete Control. The song featured on the US release of the band's debut album and was a direct attack at their record label CBS Records. The trigger was that the record label had released the Clash's song Remote Control without asking the band. In addition to this incident, the band had a conversation with their manager at the time, Bernie Rhodes, in which Joe Strummer recalls, he said he wanted complete control, came out of the club with Paul Simonon collapsing on the pavement in hysterics at those words. This was a time when punk rock was at a dying stage, and many bands were pushed by their record labels to change style. They were selling out. However, Complete Control manifested the Clash's patriotism to their genre, which has made them highly respected in the punk rock community. After the huge success of The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd experienced pressure from their record executives to follow up with something just as good. Knowing Waters and Gilmour, they didn't exactly appreciate being pushed around, which led Waters to write Have a Cigar, which ended up being the third track on their next album, Wish You Were Here. It is Waters' critique of the greed and cynicism so visible in the management of rock groups of that era, and he had even stated that it could be interpreted as a follow-up of Money. There are a couple of lines that especially stand out, with the most famous one being, "Oh, by the way, which one's pink?" I think this line is absolutely great, as it perfectly illustrates money-hungry music executives that know nothing about the band. Waters said later in an interview that this was actually a line they had heard several times, and that the lyrics in fact was quite genuine. What is funny about all this was that English folk rock singer Roy Harper provided lead vocals on that song, and it wouldn't surprise me if none of the executives even knew this.
Now I'm sorry, I've had a long day, remind me, now what your name is, that's...
With the song's title name-dropping the music producer and chairman of Interscope Records, it is quite obvious that it's a diss track towards the industry. This song is about Macklemore's journey of being desperate of getting signed by a record company, only to find out that the record label rips off their artists. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis are known to take a lot of the work on themselves, and the explanation to this is highly visible in this song. The outro of the song is reminiscent to Pink Floyd's line, "Oh, by the way, which one's pink?" from Have a Cigar. In the outro, Macklemore sings from the perspective of Jimmy Iovine. "Now I'm sorry, I've had a long day. Remind me now what your name is?" Another song I find really amusing on this list is Eleanor by the Turtles, and that is mostly due to the song's lyrics. The band wanted to diversify their musical output and create their own material, but of course their record company wouldn't allow this. The Turtles didn't really care and recorded the album The Battle of the Bands as a demonstration of their musical versatility. This album had a highly varying style throughout, as well as containing the song Eleanor. This was a parody of the typical happy smile love songs they had been performing earlier. The slapdash and cliched lyrics made this especially clear, with lines such as, "Eleanor, gee, I think you're swell, and you really do me well, you're my pride and joy," etc. All in all, a funny parody of the industry at the time and a light jab towards their record label. This one's probably my favorite. Grace Kelly was the opening track of Mika's debut album, Life in Cartoon Motion. The song is named after the American actress who later became the Princess of Monaco, and the opening dialogue in the song is from the film Country Girl, in which the actress starred in. In this song, we witness Mika's raw frustration and honest view on his executives, inspired after a bad experience with one of his superiors, in which he was told, "Be more like Craig David," and that he would never sell any records if he kept on going like he did. Mika had earlier expressed, "The indie scene thought I was too melody-based, and I was rejected by the commercial scene because I was too strange." Feeling like he wasn't wanted anywhere, he poured his frustration into the song, making it absolutely brilliant. The lyrics turned directly towards his executives with lines like, "Should I bend over? Should I look older? And I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky." All in all, a great end product that really skyrocketed his career. There you have it. 10 songs where bands and artists took up a fight with their record labels. It is interesting to see how a bad collaboration could lead to such good songs. Hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content.